Acting is definitely a tough line of work. Many can only do one particular genre. Some are great at comedy and nothing else. Some are great at drama and nothing else. Everybody has their niche, everybody has their one skill, and in the case of some true talents, they have multiple skills across multiple genres, and Catherine O'Hara encapsulated all of that. From the 70s all the way into this decade until her unfortunate passing just a bit earlier, it is true that Catherine O'Hara was truly revolutionary as far as how she stayed relevant on television, on the big screen, many iconic roles, many memorable moments. She will be sorely missed, and this is my tribute to her. So let me know your favorite Catherine O'Hara moments in the comments, please. Yes, just a bit ago it was announced that she passed away at the age of 71, born on March 4th, 1954, and got her start doing, small roles on a few programs, and then had a bit of a breakout on SCTV, which is something that many people of a certain age will remember, or even the letters I know, not just because they're in the alphabet, but also because SCTV is something that meant a lot to a lot of people. And she had voice work in animated projects and was so gifted, so unbelievably gifted, seemed very down to earth. Tributes pouring out. The Macaulay Culkin one just is absolutely heartbreaking. Kevin, Kate, Kevin, all that. Just the amount of work that Catherine O'Hara put in to any project she was involved in is just truly inspiring. She truly was very, very gifted. It's very unfortunate that she passed away, still having so much to give, but what a legacy she left. And, stuff like Witches Night Out, Rock and Rule, and, just small stuff that gained her a little bit of notoriety. After Hours is a role that many remember her breaking out with. And then Heartburn, 1986, the following year. And her work as, Delia in Beetlejuice. Of course, the 1988 one and the subsequent sequel. It was so nice that she was one of the legacy characters brought back. That was just really, really great to just see how incredible Catherine O'Hara was still able to carry, like, her comedic timing from that to that. Because you got to think about it. No matter how good you are, that much time between particular movies, sometimes the fans may move on, sometimes the magic might not be there, and Catherine O'Hara still had it. Yes, there were other characters that were going to carry that thing on, but it's unfortunate she won't be around for the third movie, assuming that they will make a third Beetlejuice movie. But looking at what she did there, she then followed that up, with, being Kate in Home Alone and Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, and also had a role in Dick Tracy. So she was rocking and rolling and doing some great stuff, but just such elegance on screen while having some, just great comedic timing. That is something that any actress in particular should aspire to have. And she carried it with such class. So even as she got into her 40s, she was still, carrying on with some great roles. And to think, she was doing all this stuff before she hit 40. And that's quite a filmography right there. And she kept going. There Goes the Neighborhood, 1992. But the stuff in Home Alone 1 and 2, Home Alone 1 obviously would be the one that people would remember most. Don't get me wrong. Home Alone 2 has some moving stuff. Some very moving stuff. But Catherine O'Hara continuing to go on. As Sally in Nightmare Before Christmas. That's another iconic role. Like, that right there is something that you could just hang your hat on as far as voice work. I need to rewatch Nightmare Before Christmas sometime. In fact, I need to do a rewatch of Catherine O'Hara movies at some point. Probably not right at this moment, but sometime this year. Just watch some stuff and just see how really good she was. Wyatt Earp, just as she was turning 40, that got released. Wyatt Earp, by the way, lasted about 18 years, but she was really good in it. And Waiting for Guffman, Tall Tale, Home Fries. Home Fries maybe wasn't great, but, you know, Catherine O'Hara lending her star power to it as she's getting into her 40s. Best in Show, probably one of the finest, you know, like collection of comedians or people with comedic timing in, like, you know, a number of years, like right around that time. Like, just you think about from like 95 to like 2005, right in the middle there. Best in Show just really was a lot of fun. And, you know, she would do stuff like Committed. I remember that show, TV, anime, that kind of stuff. And she could just be a chameleon and blend in with a whole bunch of stuff. Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, you know, in 2004. She was even back for the series, a short-lived series, but I digress. And her voice acting, you know, is quite deep. I mean, Chicken Little, Over the Hedge, which, forgot about Over the Hedge, forgot she was in that. Monster House, Brother Bear 2, I forgot they did a sequel to Brother Bear, and Frankenweenie. An incredibly sad movie, to be perfectly honest, like a lot sadder than you might anticipate with a movie called Frankenweenie. But then other live action roles for your consideration. Away We Go, Where the Wild Things Are. And she's entering, at this point, into her, you know, into her 60s, and she's got all these roles going and doing really, really good stuff. Granted, she wasn't utilized properly in Argylle, a movie that I didn't particularly care for, despite the great talent involved. I felt that Catherine O'Hara deserved to have a little more screen time. But, yeah, she wasn't utilized all that great. Schitt's Creek is something that, even though I've only seen a little bit of, she's probably the most memorable character, most quotable character of that show, at least to a large swath of fans. One of the best TV characters that, you know, has happened in the modern age, and somebody that you absolutely could invest in. I mean, Catherine O'Hara just really was a very, very gifted woman, an incredibly gifted woman, and I feel bad for her family, her friends, her significant other, her children. It really is sad. It's very tragic. She got to live into her 70s at least. That is a good thing. But I still feel she had so much left to give. And, you know, this coming off the heels, like just a few months ago, of Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner with far worse circumstances to his death, not to have it be a competition, but it sounds like more health-related stuff for her. But even as she was entering, you know, getting closer to her 70s, voice work in films like Elemental, which I remember the movie. I forgot she had a voice in that, and that actually was a very terrific Pixar movie. Wild Robot, that was one that got to me a whole lot more than I remember, and she was a good part of that. And there was actually a lot of... I really hope they do a sequel to Wild Robot. It's a shame she will not be able to lend her voice to it. She had a couple episodes of The Last of Us under her belt, and she was Patty in the studio, and just looking at all of that. I mean, just listing that stuff. And I can't go over everything in granular detail, but just looking at what Catherine O'Hara meant, looking at how she was able to captivate so many people, able to entertain so many people, but then be over here being dramatic and showing her range. That's exactly what set her apart from a lot of her era. And she still could fit in, you know, even into her 60s and into her, you know, very early 70s. And she didn't look out of place. It wasn't like they were just gifting her this role or giving her this role because she, you know, she once was a star. She carried the load, and she was able to do all that. And while this may not be as long of a tribute as some people that are bigger fans of her, you know, those that have studied and are really, really big fans of like every single thing that she's done, I wanted to just offer my condolences to her and go over a few of her roles, and it's very sad. It is very, very sad. And that's a short tribute to Catherine O'Hara. The life and times of Catherine O'Hara, a big part of many childhoods. I mean, if you think about it, if you're, you know, I'm 45. If you think about like what Home Alone may have meant to you, Beetlejuice may have meant to you, and then others that, you know, were born in, like, say, the 2000s or like say the mid to late 90s and into the 2000s, and they got to experience her in Chicken Little, Over the Hedge and stuff like that, and then those who were maybe born in the 2010s and got to experience her in films like Elemental and The Wild Robot. A lot of people got touched by a lot of what Catherine O'Hara did, so may she rest in peace. So let me know your favorite moments. List them in the comments. May Catherine O'Hara rest in peace. May her family and friends find as much peace as they can. It's very sad. Rest in peace, Kevin's mother. Rest in peace, Kate. Rest in peace, Delia. You left an impact on many, and it ain't going to be forgotten.